Welcome guys, Spider from the Sluggers here, and I'm just going to show you some of the items we were looking for when we do the cadet check ride. Um, you'll receive this check ride after a successful application, and if you check at the bottom of the video here, we'll have links to that and to our Discord channel and how to join the squadron. So when we do the check ride, I created this program and check ride series to give the new DCS pilot what they will be experiencing in the DCS community and the multiplayer community, and little tips and little skill items that you would need to have to be a successful DCS pilot in the multiplayer realm. As a lot of servers uh, do, similar to example Blue Flag, have a limited amount of lives you can have on a certain amount of hours, and a lot of people, if and it also helps you in a multiplayer environment such as Blue Flag uh, to not lose any of those lives due to a incident resulting from a midair collision with another player or anything like that. So to get it off, what we're gonna do is the first item on the list is getting your aircraft from a cold and dark state. That means everything is turned off to a condition ready to fly. So what I do is just basic general knowledge in that. Um, I ask two or three questions on how to ask two or three questions on how to get that aircraft or the aircraft that you're in. Today we're in the F5, so it's something similar. Um, you know, FC3 aircraft I do allow. It still has a minimum startup requirements. Um, the SU-25, that's a free aircraft. When you download DCS World, has a requirement, especially for its gyros. So the F5. So examples, tell through the review officer will ask you, tell them two or three things that the aircraft requires, the items on your checklist to get it from a cold dark state to a state that's available, ready to fly. So my uh, in my F5 here, and I'm gonna pause the head tracker there. I'm gonna slowly in. The first thing I would do is I would turn the battery switch on. Second one, I would do uh, engage the generators. Next, I would call for ground control to hook up air
Chief, connect ground air supply.
and
Copy.
The ground air supply
Ground
is
air
available.
supply is now connected.
I would turn on the fuel pumps for the right and left tanks, and that is enough to satisfy the requirement. General knowledge of the aircraft and that. And I'm gonna continue here to let the auto start continue starting us to quicken the pace up a little bit more. The next question is general knowledge of brevity. Now, brevity, and the review officer will lay out the foundation of the question for you. So, any calls we do around the airport, um, we consider those traffic
Chief,
calls.
connect ground air supply.
Traffic calls, as in similar
Copy.
to a
Ground air supply is now connected.
Similar to.
Chief, apply ground air
Hold
supply.
on here, second, Fert.
Copy. Air is now applied.
is similar to a turn signal on the car, and we'll explain that a little bit more in a couple of minutes here. The brevity calls are any calls you made in combat, employing weapons, defending yourself, letting other peoples know. They're acronyms, so the meanings. So we asked the review officer will ask you um, to repeat 3 or 4 terms of brevity and their meanings. So examples for brevity for me be Fox 1 is radar guided, similar to a Sparrow or a
Apply ground air
Russian
supply.
R-27 missile.
Copy.
A 530
Air is
missile.
now applied.
And that. Fox 2 will be a Sidewinder or a Magic missile or R-73 missile on the Russian side. That's infrared heat seekers. And that also, Fox 2 is also for the ET missile that the Russians have. That's the long range infrared missile. So that's 2. So I would say nails. That means the aircraft is being painted by a search radar. It has not locked on to me,
Chief, disconnect
but
ground air
my
supply.
radar warning receiver is receiving those nails.
Copy. Ground air supply is now disconnected.
That's 3. And so the 4th one would be pickle. That means the pickle is the meaning of releasing a dumb bomb on a target, that you have released that bomb and you're letting another aircraft know that you released a bomb over the target area. So brevity is really simple. And the list I do have on the site is what general the community uses. I know if you Google brevity, there is a wiki page that has about 3 pages of brevity. Some of those terms the community doesn't use, so we universally got it wasn't universally put together, but the common terms that the community uses. So at this point, we are going to do a traffic pattern, and uh, just to let you know, a lot of communities don't like using the in-game air traffic control because it has a tendency to bug out and just keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and a lot of people don't, with that screaming in the ears, it sometimes do. So the community uses the uncontrolled airport traffic pattern, traffic protocol. It's announcing where you're at in the airport pattern, and we will and up in the corner there, I will put a picture of the air traffic pattern for you guys to look at, and it will be available in the checklist of things to be ready for when you come to take a check ride with us. So the uncontrolled traffic pattern is similar to, like I said, the turn signal in that. You're going to hear a big word in the community and in your DCS career is you're increasing your situational awareness. All the time. That's primary for having that big map drawn. If you ever see those World War II command rooms where they have the big maps and they have all the symbols, all the miniatures on the different points where they have it, and that, or the plotting room. If you ever saw the Battle of Britain, great movie, great classical movie. You'll see them moving the aircraft across a map. You know, they call that the Ouija board. That's for the command personnel can see that. Well, you have that same thing in the back of your mind, and you use situational awareness through calls, through radio calls, through your own sensors, um, to populate that map where everything is. So you know where you have a general idea where all that stuff is. And when we do traffic calls, we're adding to that map to help deconflict the traffic around the airport. So in that case, so we use the uncontrolled traffic pattern as it's always going to be traffic to let everybody know in the area. So the first word you say traffic. The airport. So since we're at Sochi, it'll be traffic, Sochi traffic. The next word would be where you're at in the pattern or where you're at on the airport to help deconflict the traffic. So, and what are you going to be doing? So, in my case, right here, right now, it'll be Sochi traffic, Spider, taxiing to runway, and taxiing would be but you also have to say the location. So today we're going to use runway 24 as our active runway. Active runways are usually what the wind is doing. So the example of the taxi call will be Sochi traffic, Spider taxiing to runway 24. And after you made that call out, you don't have to wait for permission because it's an uncontrolled airport. We're going to go ahead and taxi to runway 24. And I'm gonna turn my head tracker back on so I can see, so I don't drop a tire off the pavement. And a lot of people ask me about taxi speed. Taxi speed in general aviation is at a brisk walk. I'm sorry about my rudder, guys. This is the first flight I did today, so sometimes I have to get the rudder pedals to unstick a little bit. So, one protocol we always do when you approach a runway, you hold short of it, and you look to make sure you have no traffic coming in. Because sometimes, if somebody is on a different frequency from the airport traffic frequency, you always check, visually check, you know, and add that little dot to the Ouija board saying there's nobody there. So we get the aircraft ready for takeoff. I have to trim the F5 nose up. and activate my beacon. Make sure my pilot heater is on, the radio is active, pumps are set, stabilization set, and turn my radar to standby. Alright, and then I would say Sochi traffic, Spider, taking runway 24. So in that thing, with that call, you letting everybody know that you're taking the active runway, and you're gonna immediately take off. So it's similar to the F5. I have to hike the nose gear for takeoff. So I've lined up. Airspeed is active. And there's the thing. Don't know why we have a gear alarm. So the Sochi traffic, Spider turning crosswind for runway 24. Sochi traffic, Spider turning downwind for runway 24. I'm going to lower my landing gear. Just to keep the alarm from going off. So pattern altitude usually is 1,000 feet above field elevation, but since we have terrain at this airport, we'll do it at 2,000. And we're downwind of the airport, so we're just a good beam from the runway. And at all times, you're looking for different traffic and that. And it's a good time to, on your downwind leg, to deploy your landing gear, deploy your landing flaps, let the aircraft settle into its landing configuration. It's also a good time, especially when you're coming back from a sortie, to check to see if you don't have any combat damage. Certain aircraft, their flaps can get shot off and you don't even know it until you're on your approach pattern. So it's the good directions back. So I'm going to start turning my mates. Sochi traffic, Spider turning base. And a base, if you're in a good pattern, your base would be turning in straight to final. So Sochi traffic, Spider turning final for runway 24. And we line up the center line. Then once you touch down, go ahead and use your braking parachutes and your brakes. Me and the F5, we actually have a braking parachute. Then you would end it. I'm going to go with the parking here on the apron instead of going back to my shelter. And we'll just create a park here. And park, and then we'll do a debrief. I'll give you the review officer give you some pointers on things to look at to improve. Most of the stuff is just all practice, and we hope this check ride, have fun, with it. Um, if you don't know stuff, we'll help you out to get you the knowledge you need to do it. So this is Spider from the Sluggers, just showing you what a cadet check ride is like, and I hope to see you a bunch of you guys coming through. Uh, have a fun and blue sky day today.